last few years, actually, as you probably know, I took over as president of Ecolab just 2.5 years ago or so. And at the time, Echolab had some very nice product technology, and of course, I think you'll have seen from the releases we've done, I mean, Ecolab's been in business for more than 35 years. This year saw its 35th anniversary earlier in the year. And Ecolab's always had a good customer base, but it's really been the situation that, I don't wish to make this sound bad, because it's not a bad thing, but Ecolab customers in the past really were people who wanted to buy a production switcher, perhaps couldn't afford to buy the one they really wanted. Perhaps they really wanted a Grass Valley or some other type of product. But for Ecolab, as it was a value solution, not necessarily with the features of those other companies' products, but they could afford it, and it did the job. What we've done for the last couple of years is work very hard on retaining the value aspect of the product, but really making it so that it's not just a true competitor to those more expensive products, but in many cases actually more powerful. So it then offers customers not only the advantage of being able to do everything they need to do and feeling very comfortable with the product line, but also being able to afford it. I believe I told everybody when I stood up at NEB that in what is now a difficult economy, that we actually reset our product plan. Last year at IBC, we introduced the Overture 2, we call it, which is a 2ME production switcher in multi-definition. That product's been very successful, but it's an expensive product, relatively. It's a product that has a price range from $70,000 to $150,000. After the original introduction of that product, we had decided to build a yet bigger product because we were getting asked for it from people in the marketplace. When we saw what was happening with the economy, we realized that the number of customers that were going to be spending $200,000 plus on a large production switcher would be diminishing. Certainly, there's lots of people that want those products, but they don't necessarily have the budgets at this moment in time. The sweet spot, if you like, for Ecolab in years gone by has always been in the smaller switcher market, and we have thousands, actually, over 35 years of those smaller switches out there. So we made a concentrated effort to really understand the market requirements on the smaller, for the smaller type of product. We looked very carefully at all of the manufacturers that are building smaller product, and there's been a lot of very nice small production devices that have been brought to market in the last couple of years from people like 4A and Sony and Panasonic and all of the names that you all know and probably spend lots of time talking to. And we basically took a look, when we looked at that market, we basically decided that we could build a better mousetrap. We could actually take the features of all of the products that people were looking at and purchasing and incorporate them in a product that offered more power and either the same price or even a little bit less expensively. So at NEB we introduced a product we called ATEM. Many of you, as I said, reported on it. ATEM, I think I mentioned this to many of you during the show and then subsequently after NEB. I've been doing NEB personally, as many of you have, for a very long time, more than 30 years. And this year's NEB, even though the attendance was low, was actually probably the best NEB I've seen for a very long time as an exhibitor. We walked away from the show with more than 35 orders for this new product, which was shown really as a concept at NEB. It wasn't shipping, and we were hoping we would ship it mid-year. We've actually started shipping it now. We started shipping it a couple of weeks ago. Our backlog now is over 50 units, and we've actually been holding off on taking the orders simply because we weren't exactly sure when we were going to start to be able to ship and what quantities we were going to ship in. And so we didn't really want to disappoint people by taking orders and making promises we couldn't keep. The product itself is entirely unique as a production switcher, because even though it's a small production switcher, just 1 ME, it's unheard of for such a small switcher to offer so much flexibility. So the switcher actually is capable of putting 12 layers of key on screen, and that's normally only found in 2 or 3 ME products. And we've done that by really taking a totally, switches, production switches, those of you that are very familiar with those kind of products, have always been built in the same traditional way. The way they operate, the workflow, has always been really the same for probably almost 40 or 50 years. But technology allows us to obviously do a lot more with these products today, but most people have kept the workflow the same. So what we spent a lot of time working with customers to figure out was how to give users a traditional feel, a traditional type of, so that there would be no barrier to operations, a traditional look and feel for workflow, but offering a different way to produce images in a much more flexible fashion. And with ATEM, we've really achieved that. With ATEM, we'll take anything in, which is a big plus for a lot of people that are buying to upgrade. And so ATEM can take standard definition signals, high definition signals of any kind, including 1080p 60. So it's actually a 3 gig switcher internally. It also offers some pretty unique IOs. It will take, for example, HDMI inputs, so people can plug in computers or Blu-ray players, anything that will put out HDMI or DVI. And it doesn't have to be synchronous. We not really care about the frame rates. So smaller customers have less system integration worries. They can simply connect whatever they want. If it's non-synchronous, we'll synchronize it. And then on the output side, we do exactly the same thing. So even though they may be operating internally at 1080p 60, they can put out standard definition or high definition at 720 or 1080i. So it's very, very flexible. And as I said, certainly the reaction we've had so far has been extremely good. I mean, much better than expectations. So we're really hoping here at IBC to be able to expand that here in Europe. The Overture series that I mentioned that we introduced last year, we've been able actually, with the developments we put in, the technology developments that we put into ATEM, we've actually been able to effectively export those back to the bigger switch. So now here at the show we're showing a bigger switcher for those people that still have budgets, but with the similar flexibility. So now the OV2 or the Overture MD can actually have any kind of input. It also now has gained a couple of HDMI inputs. It's also 3 gigs. We believe that we're the only switcher manufacturer today. Perhaps there are a couple of exceptions, but certainly in the smaller product line, more inexpensive products that offer real 1080p. Now, there's not too many users out there that have purchased 1080p cameras yet, but a switcher, we see our customers keeping switches for a very long time. Therefore, to be able to offer the flexibility today means that they're pretty safe for the future. One thing, the other remarkable thing about the ATEM, by the way, is it's this price without option, with everything in it, is less than $20,000 US. So it's very, very competitively priced, and as I said, we've already got lots of sales, even though we've